Solid support for Labour has run through these valleys like the seams of coal underneath the ground here. Until now.
I give public notice that Lindsay Whittle is duly elected as the member of the Senedd for Caerphilly constituency.
A by-election for Caerphilly's seat in the Senedd, the Welsh Parliament, now taken by Plaid Cymru, the left-leaning, long-established nationalist party present for decades in Welsh politics, but with varying degrees of electoral impact. Its candidate here finally successful after 14 attempts in various polls over the last 42 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll forgive me, I'm not used to speaking first.
And it was a close-run contest as to who would be victorious. The Reform Party, who many predicted would win, in fact came second, perhaps because of tactical voting in favour of Plaid by those who couldn't stomach the influence of this man on Welsh politics.
Hello, how you doing? All right.
Reform, however, know they've upset the traditional alignment and claim the result as a building block for next May's Senedd elections.
Actually, when you look at it, we've done amazingly well. 4 years ago, we got 1.7%. Last night or this morning, we got 36%. That's a meteoric rise, I think, by any standards. In fact, I think it's pretty unprecedented in modern British political history.
Labour's paltry 11% of the vote is a blow for the party of government in both Wales and Westminster. Caerphilly has always been part of its heartlands. The seat has been there since 1918. But the promised better services and lower living costs have been slow to materialise, and the electorate here has decided to sound a killer warning at the ballot box.
It's a really tough night, and look, my congratulations to the successful candidate Lindsay Whittle, and I hope he works really hard now for the people of Caerphilly in the 6 months ahead. Our job is to turn this around. Our job is not to put our heads down after this, but to actually say, well, what did we hear in the doorsteps? What do we need to do better to win back those votes from the people of Caerphilly? But yeah, it's a tough night.
And it seems the message on those doorsteps was that voters wanted better funding for Wales from Westminster to improve healthcare and create jobs, something Plaid campaigned hard on.
I said at the start of this campaign that this could be a reset in Welsh politics. It feels like a reset today. Labour's time is done, and if we want a positive alternative, it has to be Plaid Cymru now. Come on, Lindsay!
His party's win spells trouble for Labour in the Senedd, who may have problems getting their next budget through. There's a major headache too for Keir Starmer. If people in places like Caerphilly want to punish his party, it doesn't bode well for next May's local elections. For now, though, there's the sweet sensation of success for the Plaid candidate.
This is better than scoring the winning try for Wales against New Zealand in the Rugby World Cup.
Unlikely, perhaps, but then some said the political landscape of Wales would never change. This is a significant result for Wales, for the makeup of the Senedd, isn't it? But what are the implications for politics nationally?
Well, I think it's a huge blow to the credibility of Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour government at the UK level. Clearly, the unpopularity of Starmer and Labour at the UK level was part of what was going on. The Welsh government and Ynys Morgan aren't popular either, but a lot of this was directed at London. And there's a real danger now that Keir Starmer is going to be the Labour leader that loses Wales in next year's Senedd election. And Labour have dominated Welsh politics for 100 years. Labour have taken dominating Wales for granted. And he is now very likely to be the guy who loses Wales. And that will be kind of an indelible mark on his record as Labour leader and as UK Prime Minister.
But Labour is saying, aren't they, that they've given a very generous settlement. They've given a lot of funding to Wales since they've been in power in Westminster for just over a year now. That obviously hasn't played out well to voters. They're just not noticing that, are they?
Well, voters don't really believe it. There are two things. One is the funding for the Welsh Government, and that is driven by the Barnett formula. So in a sense, what Labour are trying to do is, they're trying to claim credit for the operation of a mathematical formula, and that doesn't really do much for them. But the big focus in Wales has been on things which are not part of the Barnett formula.
So how can they regain momentum in Wales?
Well, frankly, I think it's very difficult to see how they get out of this. They've only got 7 or so months before the next devolved election. The polling, I mean, obviously, the Caerphilly result was bad, but one of the reasons it's so bad is it confirms the general pattern we're getting from the polling in Wales, which shows that Wales is now kind of turning away from Labour. Labour is down to a weak third place. It's very hard to imagine how you can turn that around in 7 months.
Next May, the Senedd elections, there's going to be more of a proportional representation voting system, isn't there? So it's going to be even worse for Labour, isn't it?
At the moment, unless there's some kind of change that we can't foresee, it's going to be an utter disaster for Labour, especially given the context. I mean, I come back to the fact that Labour has dominated Welsh politics since 1922. It's won every UK general election. It's won every devolved election. Currently, it's trailing in a very poor third place. And it could fall even lower as the remaining Labour votes kind of votes tactically to try and keep reform out.
Talking about reform, they didn't win, but they came second. What was their appeal, do you think, to the voters of Caerphilly?
In terms of reform, I think it's a real mixed bag of a result. They got 36% of the votes, which is, very, very respectable indeed. However, they had expected to win. They'd thrown everything at the seats. I mean, Reform has far more resources at its beck and call than Plaid Cymru, for example. So they really did mobilise all the resources, and they failed to win. They failed to maintain momentum, which is really key.
And after all, the Conservatives were nowhere in this election, were they? But it was won by a left-leaning party, wasn't it? So what does that say?
Well, I think this is one of the things which I think is very striking about British politics is that Labour has been obsessing about reform, and they have been worried that they're losing lots of votes to reform and have been, I think, moving in the direction of reform to try and ensure that they don't lose these voters. But I think they are misunderstanding the motivation of a lot of their own voters who are progressive, and in Wales who are kind of small n or even large n nationalists, but who have voted for Labour in the past because they see Labour as standing up for Wales. They've been busily alienating all those people. And what Caerphilly shows is that, if there's somebody offering an alternative, they are willing to row in behind that alternative in very large numbers. So, what was striking about Caerphilly, again, is this is a traditional Labour seat. Plaid Cymru's majority was larger than Labour's actual overall votes in this by-election, which is astounding. So, Labour is alienating those voters, and it is doing so at its peril.
Professor Richard Wyn Jones, thank you very much indeed.